Outside the tower. Unknown area. The hot ground made Bai Wu open his eyes. His face is facing the sky, and his expression is confused. He cares more about the sky than the pain of burning skin. When staring above, a strange dialogue box appeared in his vision. Don't look at the sky, the temperature is 59 degrees, and the temperature rises at a rate of 0.2 degrees per minute, you are already medium ripe, it is recommended to sprinkle some cumin, the flavor is better. Hiss! There was tingling in the brain. Bai Wu climbed up, and his palm was burned by the ground after high temperature exposure, just like everywhere else. Under the scorching temperature, everything in the line of sight is slightly distorted like a thin layer of autumn water. When he focused his eyes on his palm, he saw the strange dialogue box again. These big pig hooves have been so hot that they can no longer use the gun to make deoxyribose. Of course, it is temporary. What the hell? Bai Wu looked away, and the surrounding scene looked like the ruins of the city after the air raid. Most of the buildings have long been dilapidated. The ground is full of potholes, and the so-called roads can be vaguely seen. Most of the debris is piled up on both sides, and many strange plants have grown in the gaps. What is this place? He looked at a relatively intact building somewhere for about 3 seconds. A public toilet that has not been used for 700 years has a hazard index of 3.5, the inside is moderately distorted, and the toilet has long lost its function. I suggest not to go in, hold it back or solve it in place. Moderate distortion, hazard index, I don't know the concept yet. There are creatures hidden in this toilet? Although there are many small question marks in his mind, Bai Wu is very calm. Although I don't know the true and false, but just the surrounding temperature is enough to confirm that I am in a very dangerous environment. Then he looked at other ruins. After several experiments, he was sure that he could see some kind of information. As long as the eyes stay on an object for 2 or 3 seconds, a strange dialogue box will pop up. It should be a comment or paraphrase, and the style is not very serious. After pondering for a moment, Bai Wu probably knows what's going on. Passed through. calm expression finally changed. The last scene in Bai Wu's memory was very consistent with the atmosphere of crossing, but he was a little confused. After crossing, why do I wear handcuffs? I have become a criminal in this life. The last movement in the memory of the previous life was a gunshot from the real culprit in a murder case. Bai Wu is not a policeman, but a detective commissioned to assist in the investigation. He is trusted by the police because of his accurate profile ability. Many perverted criminals have been captured with Bai Wu's assistance. In the words of the police, only freaks can defeat freaks. I think it is not enough to die once, let me die again. The hands can move within a certain range. The handcuffs are not like the police handcuffs in the previous life, making their hands inseparable. It seems that the main purpose is not to imprison the hands. He looked at his wrist for about 3 seconds, some handcuffs are not serious, the surface is handcuffs, but behind the back are the monitors of the 4-story nobles. It's better not to destroy it. It's important to find cumin now, you will burn it later. Watch, noble. It looks like I have crossed into a very strange world, and I should be in a bad situation. The temperature has risen to 60 degrees. Bai Wu is not as anxious and desperate as many people. Normal human beings are bound to be unable to think normally in this situation. They are in a state of self-protection that jumps up and down to avoid being burned. Bai Wu can feel his own nerve function everywhere in the body, and constantly transmits to the brain various signals of "it's very hot, jump up, don't think about it." But he didn't move, still thinking about the status quo like an old dog. The human body can persist for a full 1 hour in an environment of 71 degrees Celsius, at 82 degrees Celsius, it can persist for 49 minutes. I don't have much time. I have to find a less hot environment within 30 minutes. After this time, my action efficiency will be greatly reduced. In his previous life, he was regarded as a freak. One of the reasons was that he was able to analyze problems calmly when he was in an extremely painful environment. After took a long breath, Bai Wu's eyes kept sweeping across various places, and the notes kept popping up. He looked north. There is no water source over there. If you go this way, you will definitely die from dehydration halfway. The taste of meat will be greatly reduced. Look to the east. There are 2 evil falls hidden away from 1,600 meters. A slippery shovel you use when you are extremely angry may feed them enough. Look south again. Bingo! You found a correct answer. There is a surprise over there. That sentence is right. If you don't have it, choose C. Bai Wu did not question the weird remarks she saw. He didn't know why there was this in his sight, but in the current situation, even if he didn't do anything within an hour, he would definitely die. Simply take a gamble. To the south of the street, there is still a row of ruins. Bai Wu walks, while observing the surroundings, and at the same time calculating how long he can last. Inside the tower, the 4th floor of the tower. If it is a game character, the blood bar will fall down after clearing it. As long as it is not cleared, in most games, the character is alive and kicking, and it can even kill with blood. But the reality is not. In reality, if human beings are in the so-called residual blood state, their consciousness, physical stamina, and mobility will be greatly reduced. So at this time on the 4th floor of the tower, the high-ranking officials and dignitaries showed puzzled expressions. Hey, is this cheating money? Why is he still alive? Isn't that the blue areas are all extremely warm worlds? Why does he seem to be in no pain at all? Is this really the blue door going out? He has been alive for dozens of minutes so far. Why is there no monster? I want to see a huge evil. The dealer won't find a talented person to pretend to be a slave, right? My God, he looks so calm. The actor? This is a white area at all, I can do it on me. It's no wonder that the gamblers suspected that the dealer was cheating. A low-level scum that should have died soon, not only did not die, but even behaved more calmly than the slaves who went out through the white door in the past. This is too abnormal. There are 6 gates out of the tower, each with 6 different colors. The white door is the safest of the 6 doors, and the slaves in the past can more or less struggle for a while. But when the blue door goes out, the difficulty of survival increases sharply, and it is a more distorted and weird world. They spend money to place bets, not to watch some escape from the wilderness to survive, but to watch someone die helplessly. The terrifying evil depravity tears the prey apart, and the stimulation of this blood makes these people more excited than winning or losing. On the VIP table, the beautiful woman wearing a half-bronze mask frowned. This time the slave seems a bit special. The white mist is indeed very special. The more extreme the environment, the better he can maintain a clear mind. It's just that until now, there is no host's original memory. The quality of this traversal can be called Tofu Dreg's project. Did the host's brain be dug up by Dave? There is no memory. Thinking like this, Bai Wu saw what was ahead. He suddenly quickened his pace, and at the same time used his eyes to confirm whether it was an illusion. This is not a mirage. You did find a water source. Don't wonder why you see the water source in this weather. The physical rules outside the tower are not under the control of Newton. At the end of the road, a jet of water spouted from the fire hydrant on the side of the road. There are 2 things that make Bai Wu strange. In a place where no one lived for 700 years, there were still equipment available. In theory, it only takes more than 10 years before these things should be scrapped. It seems that this city is not without people, or without living creatures. The liquid is cold in the weather of 64 degrees. The water comes from the ground, but why is the temperature so low? In such a high temperature environment, even the groundwater is absolutely warm. Is wrong, the remarks indicate that the temperature rises at a rate of 0.2 degrees per minute, which means that the earliest temperature may be very low, and the temperature changes extremely fast. The water underneath hasn't had time to warm up. Bai Wu became more and more curious about this world. This should be a world with a huge temperature difference between day and night. The previous remarks suggested that no one has lived for 700 years, and this environment is indeed not suitable for human survival, so where do humans live? Forget it, I have to survive first. After 5 minutes of sun exposure, I will be dizzy due to dehydration. He already has an idea. Since the underground water is very cold, at least in the sewers, the temperature will not be so abnormal. Near the fire hydrant, the white mist on the edge of the road quickly found the entrance to the underground. The manhole cover has already been pried open. This place has been explored before. Bai Wu didn't think about it, this body was almost reaching its limit, and he needed a place where the temperature was not so abnormal to take a rest. After entering the sewer pipe, it rarely smells foul smell. The light became dimmed, and Bai Wu tried to focus his gaze in a cloud of darkness. Oh my old buddy, if you can't see clearly, you can't analyze it. For the sake of God, can you please evolve the talent sequence 929, strengthen vision? If you can't, you have to be slow in this environment, otherwise I will kick you with my boots, and I swear I will do it. It seems that the content of the remarks must be something that is actually visible. In absolute darkness, I can't help me. What is the talent sequence? Bai Wu did not slow down, because after being completely enveloped in darkness, the handcuffs glowed. This is not surprising, he has already guessed that he is probably a certain performer, and there should be a so-called nobleman watching him right now. In that case, the handcuffs naturally have the ability to shine at night. The remarks are correct, and it is indeed not advisable to destroy it prematurely. With light, Bai Mist can see the situation in the sewer pipe clearly. An unknown plant, with intertwined rhizomes, covering all the surrounding walls. If you look closely, you can see the purple liquid flowing in the roots of the plants. And there are the bones of some unknown creatures on the ground. Looking at the skeleton, it is a hexapod that has never been seen before. In the middle of the aisle, there is a water channel. The surface of the water is very quiet, and the water quality is completely different from the water quality of the sewer that he knows. It is unexpectedly clear. The temperature of the sewer is far less hot than the outside because of the cold water. Looking around, Bai Wu believed that he was temporarily out of danger, and focused his gaze on the surface of the water. By the light, his face appeared on the surface of the water. A little beggar at the bottom of a high tower actually has a face worth 9 points. I admit that your face makes me feel very substituting. If I were also a human being, you would be the enemy of my life. The information is very limited, just like the things I saw before. I can see some remarks, but the content is not comprehensive. High tower, ground floor. The tower, the humans live in the tower outside is dangerous and cannot survive. The memory of the original owner is like exhausted toothpaste, which can't be squeezed out. Bai Wu can only rely on the knowledge of the past to expand the profile. His brain quickly combined various pieces of information, and quickly came to a conclusion that was close to the truth. The remarks mentioned the 4-story nobles and the beggars at the bottom. If you want to come to the tower, the levels are distinct, and the higher the level, the more noble the status. And I became a toy for the nobles. This handcuff is obviously recording how I survived. Perhaps this is a gamble about my survival time? Sure enough, I don't share the same gambling and drugs. The remarks mentioned the evil depravity. This should be some kind of monster outside the tower. It is more likely to be the real inhabitants of this abandoned city. No matter how lucky I am, it is impossible to survive here for too long, at least now I cannot survive for too long. The real way to break the game is to find a way back to the tower. Only when I go back can I master the world in the shortest time. Basic knowledge. These are all speculations and cannot be verified. The top priority is to find a way back to the tower. Looking at the bracelet, Bai Wu had a bold idea. The remarks did not mention whether the bracelet has the ability to transmit sound, and do not know which language people in this world use. Without the memory of the original owner, naturally it is impossible to master the original owner's language. So Bai Wu made a gesture, and his expression also changed. It was no longer absolutely calm, but provocative in contempt. Probably means, this is it. The fourth floor of the tower. There was an uproar. What an arrogant slave, surely this is not a gifted person. Actor, definitely an actor. This bet is a fake. I want to see him die, what about evil? I want to see him die. Hee, it's surprisingly interesting. I didn't expect me to be an unpopular player and I was hit. This kid actually lived so long. The gamblers are deep fried. They bet that most of them are betting that the slave will die within an hour, and they all look forward to seeing the slave struggling before death, or the high-level evil monsters in the blue area. Until now, I haven't seen anything. And these nobles who thought they were superior were actually provoked by the low-level untouchables. Bai Wu made no mistake in guessing. International gestures are still universal even in another world and can be promoted to cosmic gestures. Also in the VIP stand, the lady in red wearing a half-bronze mask picked up the phone, apparently reprimanding her subordinates for not carefully checking the supply. But on the other side of the phone, the person in charge of the gambling game was also very frightened, and constantly emphasized to the lady that the goods this time were indeed beggars from the bottom. After hanging up, the lady reduced the anger on her face. Gradually showed some incredible expression. Outside the tower, people will instinctively fear, and even produce all kinds of negative emotions, and any negative emotions will attract evil attacks. They are the scariest hunters outside the tower, able to smell emotions. But the young man was calm from beginning to end, which is why he has not been attacked by the evil so far. This kind of thing is unheard of. It's like facing the world outside the tower without any emotional fluctuations. What should I do if I am bullied? Bai Wu's style is definitely trying his best to make the bully more uncomfortable. At the same time, sees every opportunity to fight back. He didn't have the slightest anger, but he didn't want to accept death in his heart. There is no right to choose the script in life, and the script is played in the best way. Disturbed the water surface, in the sparkling, Bai Mist stared at the water surface again. Water quality will make your stomach uncomfortable, but don't worry about its pollution level will make you violently die on the spot. You don't need excretion and drinking water for a bad fall, so they will not touch the water source, and drinking water will not be an old behavior. The water could be drunk, which surprised Bai Wu. He ignored the pain, his festering hands kept holding up the water and drank half full. After experiencing high temperature exposure, suddenly drinking water, there will be a clear refreshment to come back to life. Next, Bai Wu began to explore the terrain. In the current hypothesis, gambling is the most reasonable. Since it is a gambling, the dealer must control the game. There is no casino in the world that really allows guests to gamble on luck, it is no different from a charity. So my survival time will definitely be disturbed by the dealer. After experiencing the provocations just now, they should find a way to solve me. Read www.yuyuganshu.com without any panic. Bai Wu even showed a weird smile. The dealer's methods may not be able to deal with it at all. But staying here will also freeze to death. Live or die situation can greatly increase adrenaline secretion. Such a state of excitement fascinated Bai Wu. He began to scan his surroundings seriously. I can't handle the dealer's methods, but I am not the only place in this place. After walking in the sewer for a while, he kept focusing on the white mist of each pipe and finally fixed his gaze. A 20-year elite level depravity, only 300 meters away from you, within this range, if you have a little negative emotion, you can draw it over. Why don't you come to a song good luck now? Evil fall. The content in the remarks made Bai Wu feel that he was lucky. The time and place are right and the people are in harmony. He now at least occupies the right place and people. He didn't panic at all, even the magical melody of good luck sounded in his mind. It is difficult to survive outside the tower. The environment is one aspect, but if there are no terrifying monsters, then human technology should not be able to overcome these problems. The architecture of 700 years ago mentioned in the remarks is similar to the architectural style of my last life. The existence of slaves means that the social system may be regressed, but technology should not be backward. Negative emotions can attract evil depravity, and the scope of the depravity capture is quite wide. I haven't encountered a depravity so far. I am really a positive energy boy. Bai Wu encountered the first problem. Because of sadness, fear, anger, and other negative emotions, to him, they are all extremely uncommon things. In other words, the evil fall couldn't feel him. Pretending to be afraid, is it afraid? The white mist of the previous life, because of his special childhood experience, caused him to lack the ability to empathize with certain emotions. So in the face of dangerous situations, he can be very calm. This weirdness also caused him to have few friends. Only when encountering suspenseful cases, will anyone think of such a freak. Is convinced that the current predicament makes him angry, sad, and afraid, and Bai Wu is not discouraged. After all, there is a better solution. Forget it, Plan B. Bai Wu waited silently, constantly making faces at the handcuffs, and doing all kinds of provocative actions when he was bullied as a child. 18 or 9 years old, but he looks like a naughty child. Seeing this scene also, some rich ladies on the 4th floor of the tower suddenly couldn't bear to watch this little slave die. With this handsome face and mischievous attitude, I really want him to fight for 20 years less. At the same time, male audiences are even more eager for the death of the white mist. The target is in the blue area. You have to pretend to be a man of evil to collect the goods. The audience will think that the goods were killed by the evil. The 4th floor of the tower, in a dark room. The person who looks like a housekeeper is delivering the command of the master. His expression was serious, and the variables in the gambling game obviously exceeded his expectations. The subordinates know. The one who responded to the housekeeper was the elite guards raised by the gambling house. What is your talent sequence? 755, steel-armed. Associated Force 2nd stage and 4th stage. Not bad ability, but the evil in the blue area is very powerful, you'd better control your emotions. Don't worry, I will focus on the prey and avoid the evil. The butler nodded and said, very well, being careful is your advantage. Go to the teleportation area outside the tower. This is the area number where the target is located. Outside the tower, it is known as a random world. Temperature, time dimension, gravity coefficient, and even space are all in a state of irregular changes. Leaving from any door, which area will go to is uncertain. Every time you leave, the portal of the tower will generate a number. Follow-up people who want to go to a certain area must enter the corresponding number, but the number is valid for only 3 days. To put it simply, if a person loses contact outside the tower and the rescue team cannot rescue within 3 days, it basically means this person will be trapped outside the tower forever. Because the serial number is invalid, the people in the tower leave the tower again, and the area they go to is unpredictable. So until now, people only know that the tower is the last haven for mankind and the last cradle of human civilization. But where is the tower? How to draw the map of the world outside the tower, is still an unsolved mystery. Because every time you exit the tower, where it will be transmitted by the portal is unknown. Outside the tower, unknown city ruins, sewers. Bai Wu thought of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from his previous life. If you can tolerate filth and stench, you probably live in the sewer, and you will feel like living in a high-level flat. The body's functions recovered little by little, and the temperature was gradually rising. By estimating the time, the temperature on the ground was already about 77 degrees. It's really an auspicious number. At exactly this time, he heard footsteps. Coming. Did not follow the footsteps of prestige, Bai Wu looked in the opposite direction. That is the location of the evil depravity. The remarks have not changed, and the distance is still 300 meters. It seems that the five senses of the evil depravity are not powerful. The way they perceive human beings mainly lies in their emotions. They are really magical creatures. Following the looming sound of footsteps, Bai Wu's eyes focused on somewhere. Talent Sequence 755, Steel Arms. The strength can probably be played for 3 rounds with the evil hands behind you, and he can be called Admiral Pan Feng. Of course, Yu Xin De Orang should not be proud. In addition, this person is cautious and suspicious. Talent Sequence, I saw it again, before it was 929, Strength and Vision. This time it is 755, Steel Arms. This should be some kind of ability evolved by humans? But why is there a sequence of numbers? I don't know this concept for the time being, but the most important thing in these messages is that the person is cautious and suspicious. The remarks don't seem to be able to analyze things comprehensively, but they can also provide some useful information. Bai Wu quickly knew what to do. Although he doesn't have many emotional empathy abilities, Bai Wu has also tried, make friends with people. For this reason, he logged on to Net Yun at midnight and wrote a lot of frustrated paragraphs. Has also landed in the anti-stress, and uttered fragrant tongues and lotus flowers to some professional players. In short, a good teammate of the Ziyuan people, a slogan of Net Yun. Of course, these didn't make Bai Wu make friends. After learning this, he can pierce a person's heart more accurately. The ability to make people depressed and angry has improved a lot. From the voice feedback, I was tens of meters away from him, but the pipe was winding and he couldn't approach me directly. Bai Wu naturally also thought that the other party may also be a terrifying existence that is not under Newtonian control, but if that is the case, any calculations are meaningless. So he didn't hesitate, and started to attack his heart. Oh, my old buddy, you can count it. You should really go back to your mother's womb to remake your legs and feet. The dwindling speed is like the stupid marmot in Mary's house next door. No, it's better than that's worse. The so-called irritation must have a prerequisite, and the language must be connected. Bai Wu didn't know what to do. The footsteps stopped for about a second, and then they became relatively rapid. You don't really think that a low-level beggar can live in such a place for so long, do you? You don't really think that this is just a simple killing mission, right? No, no. This time he stopped for 5 seconds, and then his pace became slow. After 2 simple confirmations, Bai Wu smiled strangely. After insulted, the other party speeded up, not to be irritated, but to quickly lock himself in through the voice. After pretending to be a mockery, he obviously paused because of thinking. Because of his cautious nature, he would subconsciously believe part of the other party's words, so it slowed down, which means that the language of this world is connected with the previous life. A protagonist who can't escape from his mouth is destined to not live in the finale. Thanks to the beautiful Chinese words, he gave himself a chance to show his mouth. You also participated in the gambling? Didn't you? The gambling scene must be very noisy now, and there must be a lot of people who think I die, so your boss sent you to solve me. But Bai Wu dragged the ending sound very long, and continued, how can you be sure that this is not part of the plan? A low-level beggar, who should have died outside the tower soon, but instead of dying, he mocked everyone. Isn't the show full of effects? Everything is just the boss. That's it. And at this time, your boss arranged you, a poor ghost, to come and kill me. Everyone was expecting you to tear me apart. When I saw the script, I laughed sadly, because you won't tear me apart. You will stay here forever. And I will step on your body and continue to mock these nobles. At that time, the dealer will open a new game, and the gamblers will become even more crazy. This bold remark was made by Bai Wu through the fragmentary information in the previous remarks and pieced together through profile writing. The latter part is naturally compiled, but it is also feasible. The truth requires bold assumptions and careful verification. It's just that time is running out, so careful verification is not allowed, so Bai Wu fights out. The footsteps stopped. The other party was obviously surprised by Bai Wu's remarks. The cautious are suspicious. Think about the situation in the worst direction. The worst situation is scary. Panic. Even a small fear is fatal in the blue area. Bai Wu looked back. The remarks have changed. The distance between the evil depravity and himself has shortened, and it is obvious that he has smelled negative emotions. The white mist at this time, like a real abnormality, he let out a penetrating laugh. Is it a very interesting script? Next, please close your eyes, put your ears up, and listen carefully to the sound in the air. Did you hear its footsteps? Guess what I prepared for you? The smell of fear led the evil depravity to approach. The distance from the evil depravity is getting shorter and shorter, and the speed of the depravity is getting faster and faster. Because of hearing what Bai Wu said, the hunter who came to kill Bai Wu also sensed the aura of horror and depravity. Once the fear begins, it is difficult to forcibly stop, especially when the danger is approaching. Bai Wu stood quietly and waited patiently. He didn't try to see the shape of the evil depravity. But he hoped that evil depravity would look cute. Not long after, he heard the sound of zombies devouring flesh and blood and the screams of humans in the Doomsday movie. 15 minutes later, he focused his eyes on the feedback he got, and he had eaten and drank enough and returned to his previous position. Bai Wu did not rush or slow down. Following the smell of blood, he found a corpse. I broke my stomach, the internal organs were almost eaten, although the clothes were torn and stained with blood. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com, but the hidden things are still there. After groping for a while, Bai Wu found a palm-sized disc made of black iron. He probably guessed the usefulness of this thing, his eyes focused, and quickly confirmed his conjecture, a return device, very simple, twist it, you can hit wherever you go, wherever you go. But this process takes 1 minute, more than 8 seconds to return to the city, so please make sure that there is no Galen in the bushes. After confirming the usage of the return device, Bai Wu planned to leave, but when he was about to turn the disc, the dialog box appeared again. Current area exploration degree, 4.5%. There are 35 left in the Evil Fall. The Doomsday Jigsaw pieces in this area have not yet been obtained. My evaluation, a cut scene. But if you are a newcomer, you can pass the customs if you survive. It is recommended to give up changing the scene first and leave as soon as possible. Exploration degree, Doomsday puzzle. Is another thing that doesn't know the concept. This remark should only be seen by me. In this case, other people should not know the exploration degree and the Doomsday puzzle. It seems that there are some secrets hidden in the ruins of this city. No, to be precise, there are many secrets hidden in the world outside the tower. Bai Wu did not hesitate. Although he was curious about 100% exploration and what would happen after finding the puzzle of the Doomsday, he did not change his plan. He politely smiled at the handcuffs. This gentle smile is even more mocking than all the previous provocations combined. In the casino, the gamblers watching this scene began to breathe fragrance. Then he easily broke free of the handcuffs, and the process smoothly made Bai Wu puzzled. I hope the tower will be more interesting. 1 minute later, Bai Wu's figure disappeared. In the bright room, Bai Wu is eating food. The food options in this world are so simple that there are almost no choices. There is no enough soil in the tower to grow crops. The food that people eat is something called a nutritious meal. The remarks on nutritious meals are like this. The day it was born was the darkest day in the history of cooking. If you can eat this, maybe you can consider being a curious food. This is extracted from one of the most common plants outside the tower, blue thread grass, which can fully supplement various nutrients needed by the human body. Tastes very bad. But in the course of 700 years, everyone has gradually adapted to it. Most people at the bottom, in order to survive, would go to the white areas to collect this kind of plants, or mine the ore needed for high towers to generate electricity. While watching Bai Wu eating, there are Shui Xi and Yun Shu. Both are members of the interrogation team, one man and one woman. The female is good at intimidating, and the male is good at temptation. S remarks are also very interesting. This woman doesn't like the man next to her, she likes the man's buddies. This man likes this woman, but he doesn't know, his buddies like him. Bai Wu noticed that the content of the remarks will give you some secrets that others can't notice, but as for the secrets, it depends entirely on luck. The interrogation team is not only in charge of interrogations, but also conducts investigations of some lower and second-layer cases on weekdays. Now these two people are already Bai Wu's fans. From the process of the interrogation just now, Bai Wu has a general understanding of the history, humanities, customs, and certain things in the tower outside the tower. Most of the content did not make Bai Wu feel very novel. When he was a child, his father kept admonishing him to have enough absurd imagination for the future. This is one of the few times when my father, like my father. So Bai Wu has played too many games with interesting settings in his previous life. If you want to say, this time it is just immersive. He loves gameplay more than realism. But there are also places that Shiraki thinks are interesting. So you think this world encourages us to get out of the tower? But the survival rate of getting out of the tower is very low. Everyone would rather stay in the tower, Yun Shu said. If everyone does not get out of the tower, they will starve to death, right? And the associated power, spirit, and talent sequence can only be obtained by getting out of the tower. Bai Wu said slowly. We regard the inside and outside of the tower as the two sides of the game. Then the human beings as pawns, although they move forward, may be eaten by the opponent. The people who play chess also know this, but the wishes of the players and the rules of the board they all encourage the soldiers to go forward. And the longer you stay outside the tower, the stronger the companion power. Once the talent sequence is awakened, the higher it is. The same goes for the items that send spirits. The longer the time, the more exaggerated the effectiveness. All this shows that the rules are encouraging people come out of the tower. Shui Xi and Yun Shu think it makes sense. But the two looked at each other and shook their heads again. They still didn't dare to leave the tower, so they joined the audit team. Bai Wu didn't care about the attitude of the two, he was already looking forward to the next time he came out of the tower. There are many benefits of going out of the tower, such as gaining companion power. This kind of power can greatly improve the strength, physical fitness, speed, and other basic combat capabilities. Upgrading the level of companion power is not by hard exercise, but by going out of the tower. The longer you stay outside the tower, the higher the increase in associated power. In short, tower external hangers can become stronger. Up to now, 59 of the strongest soldiers in the Investigation Legion have survived for 24 days in the blue area alone outside the tower. The associated power has reached the 8th level of horror, and it is one of the very few existences that can contend frontally with high distortion and evil. Even the self-esteem of the Jinyu army has handed out the olive branch several times, hoping that May 9th can join the Jinyu army. Bai Wu also awakened the companion power, 1 stage and 3 stages. This was also the reason why he could easily tear off the handcuffs at last, and could hear the sound of evil depravity from a very long distance. It is worth mentioning that the growth of the companion power mainly depends on the continuous time of survival outside the tower. To put it simply, surviving 3 hours outside the tower at a time is definitely better than entering the tower 3 times and staying for 1 hour each time. Then the more dangerous the area, the higher the rate of improvement. Bai Wu is still chewing food seriously. He hates unpalatable things, but he hates weakness even more. Lu Mu walked in. Hey! Team Lu, why are you here? Yun Shu Sui immediately stood up. Bai Wu lowered his head, still eating. Retreat, I have something to say with this little brother. Ah this, well. Shui Ci and Yun Shu left, Lu Mu sat on the chair grimly, examining Bai Wu. White Mist chewed slowly and swallowed it only a little better than canned herring. It was probably a nutritious meal that tasted like boiled durian. In addition to feeling unpalatable, I didn't feel bored. He is like an insulator of negative emotions. Have you ever been out of the tower before? Bai Wu swallowed very slowly. After about half a minute, he said, I am willing to join you. But since I am already familiar with the people on this team, I will not go to your team, I want to stay here. Lu Mu was dumbfounded for 2 seconds. The conversation jumped so much that he didn't react. Bai Wu eats slowly, and speaks with Yun Shu and Shui Ci very slowly. But facing Lu Mu, he spoke extremely fast, and said with the same speed as a cannon, a total of 4 people who interrogated me just now, if their bosses have normal brains, they will definitely realize that this kind of interrogation is a waste of time, and the interrogation itself shows that you are not clear about my identity. You didn't deal with me, which means that I was not the same group as the one who threw me out of the tower. If it's not the enemy, then after the interrogation just now and my previous actions, it is reasonable for the investigation corps outside the tower to recruit me. But Yun Shu's reaction was surprised by your arrival, indicating that your appearance is unreasonable. Obviously you are not the captain of their team. Lu Mu was stunned again. Bai Wu glanced at Lu Mu's right wrist at this time. It turns out that your shield is broken. The items used to send spirits will also be damaged. It seems that the evil depravity against you is stronger than the one I encountered. Lu Mu suddenly couldn't remember, why did he come to ask? Why did the discourse dominance go to the other party all at once? But he can only endure the so-called interrogation, first asking, how do you know I use a shield? The killer I saw outside the tower had his head pierced by sharp claws. There must be more than one method of evil, but it can be inferred that they will choose the key to attack. Your wrist bone is moved down 3 centimeters, and there is a scar. And so, since you are the squad leader of the investigation team outside the tower, the associated power is naturally not low, and the body's recovery ability is very comparable. Who in the tower can leave a scar on your hand? And there is no position to do so. Normal people's wrist joints are raised while you are sunken. The point of force on the shield is the wrist joint. This is the characteristic of people who use shields to withstand huge force all year round. The shield was still scarred, indicating that the shield was broken, and the items that sent the spirits were destroyed. Naturally, it is not what ordinary evil spirits can do. In addition, when the shield was raised to protect the face, the claws of the evil fall would hit the wrist and move down 3 centimeters. Sending spirits to items is also what Bai Wu finds interesting. Human beings survive outside the tower, they can obtain the talent sequence and associated power, and the items close to the human body will also undergo abnormal changes. A few years ago, on the 3rd floor of the tower, a great poet wanted to commit suicide because he was rejected by a rich woman for being short, so he wore a pair of floral underwear and ran outside the tower. As a result, when he was rescued by the investigation corps, he was still alive. Not only are people alive, that floral underwear also has an aphrodisiac function, and it is said that wearing it can increase the length of a certain place. So that it was once fired to a sky-high price. This is an item to send spirits, but only items that are close to the human body can be used, and the law of sending spirits depends entirely on character. Bai Wu didn't pay attention to Lu Mu anymore, and had already started planning to leave the tower next time, so it would be better to bring something with him. Lu Mu only cares about 2 things now. Such talents, how can you reading www.yuyuganshu.com be at the bottom? In addition, how to get him to the 13th team. By the way, I need a complete periodic table of talent sequences. If you can get it for me, maybe I will. I will still reject you. He did not say this sentence. In fact, from the very beginning, Bai Wu knew some of the secrets of these people. Because he can see naughty dialogues. The periodic table of talent sequence given by Yun Shu before is not complete. If the companion power is the basic compatibility of power and speed, then the talent sequence is a powerful super ability. Bai Wu suspected that the remarks he could see were definitely not through the novice spree or system, but some kind of talent sequence. This premonition is extremely strong. Complete sequence list? What do you want this for? Lu Mu doesn't know what Bai Wu is going to do. There are a total of 1024 talent sequences. The higher the sequence, the rarer and stronger it is. Most people are in the range of 1000 to 700. A small number of geniuses belong to the category of 500 to 600 sequence. Such people are elites in the investigation corps. As for the 500 upwards, like Wu Ju and Lu Mu, they are the ace members of the entire army. Of course, there are also strong players like the captain of the first squad who rely purely on powerful companions and do not need a talent sequence. In short, in order to make it easier to refer to, most of the periodic table of the sequence of talents will hide a part of the very front. After all, no one has awakened. Bai Wu just swept around, and did not find a sequence that fits his abilities, so he guessed whether the sequence is very high. Whether it is life or game, you have to figure out your own advantages. Okay, I'll get it for you, you wait. 15 minutes later, Lu Mu rushed over, very courteous. Bai Wu took the thin booklet in his hand and looked at the talent sequence in a glance. You seem to have some common sense about the tower, very lacking. Reminiscent of the words of the leader of the interrogation team of the previous 7 teams, Lu Mu said. I have lost my memory. According to the impression you gave me before, you can find a better reason if you want to lie to me. So you'd better believe it. The person who caught me is likely to be in the aftermath. For convenience, my memory was wiped out violently. Before, he asked Yun Shu and Xue Xi, the 4th layer has many means to erase memories. Common is the purification of a plant called an AI. While talking, he saw the sequence within 100. Lu Mu also noticed that Bai Wu flipped through the first 3 pages and smiled. In the entire lower 3 levels, the first in the sequence is 50 and 9, sequence 256, Polar Shadow. The ones that are even higher have not appeared for a long time. Where are the top 100? Has it ever appeared in history? Bai Wu asked casually. The sequence is different from the companion power. The companion power will be obtained as long as it is out of the tower, and very few people will awaken the sequence. According to current statistics, the vast majority of awakened people, no matter how long they are outside the tower, are ranked after 700. The first 100, in Lu Mu's eyes, it was the realm of gods. But it is true in history, and this period of history is not far away. There is one, but it cannot be verified. It is no different from folklore. Tell me. Look at the talent sequence 76, absolutely dissolve. 20 years ago, it is said that a miner at the bottom awakened this sequence. This is much more exaggerated than winning a lottery. It is equivalent to a step to the sky in the true sense. It seems that the man ended up not very well. Bai Wu directly said the conclusion. Lu Mu opened his mouth and suddenly felt boring to talk to this person. But he still nodded. It disappeared directly. The matter was quickly suppressed. After so many years, it was impossible to investigate. The highest legion commander of the High Tower Town Imperial Army did not actively investigate the case, but tried his best to investigate this person. Information erasure. That was taken away by a higher level organization than the Janaya Corps. Yes, but I don't know where it went. It's probably the 5th level, the ruler level. Or, the 6th level. As for the fact that the tower currently has only 6 floors, Bai Wu already knows it. By the way, will this world force the detection of talent sequences? Will everyone's talent sequence information be registered? That's not true. The talent sequence is private. It's like investigating the army. Many people's sequences are hidden and never revealed. Bai Wu nodded, which is good news. That is to say, after experiencing that incident, there may not be no people in the 100 sequence, but these people have learned their skills, and they don't know what they will face when they go to the 5th floor. So I hide my talent. Maybe this is the case. In that case, I have to be more careful. Bai Wu's gaze faintly swept across the second line of the first page. Talent Sequence 24, The Eye of Prel. You can see the remarks and explanations in the style of the hidden side of your personality in the focus of your eyes. Advanced, unknown. The lower the sequence number, the more detailed the explanation. In the first 50, there is basically only one simple sentence. But Bai Wu is sure that this is his own ability, but this message extends more problems. Why does this body have such an advanced sequence? Have you been outside the tower a long time ago? No, my companion power is so weak, it shows that this body is indeed the first time to go outside the tower, but it can awaken such a high sequence. Is this beaver? This is not a beaver. There is no clue to this question for the time being. At least I have to find out the past of this body before I can use the elimination method. Intuitively told Bai Wu that the source of Prel's eye must be related to some extremely important information, but he was just in Novice Village and it was not enough to investigate it. The style of the remark is in line with the hidden side of my personality. Is my hidden side so cheap? Thinking of those mischievous remarks, Bai Wu doubted the news here. Lu Mu said, you should be out of the tower for the first time. Don't think about the talent sequence for the time being. There is a question. A person can only have one kind of talent sequence. There is only one type of awakening, but according to the story handed down from the 6th layer, you can also kill some extremely powerful evils to obtain additional sequences. But this kind of evil, even if it is true, it is best to pray that you will not encounter it. 2. Bai Wu understands, it's reasonable to kill the drop. The 6th layer is handed down. That is to say, Lu Mu and May 9th, they are regarded as masters in the tower. But there are some hidden masters who have rare upper sequences, or even multiple sequences. The Eye of Prel is not suitable for combat, although advanced is also mentioned, but the advanced ability is not suitable for combat. I have to find a way to get out of the tower and get some other talents. Ahem. Lu Mu suddenly coughed, ready to talk about business. Bai Wu second understood what he meant. Sorry brother Lu, you are a good person, I choose the 7th team. Lu Mu was rejected before he could speak why. During the previous 3 hours of interrogation, I learned that the 7th team, out of the 24 teams, had the most frequent appearances. Isn't this a reason to quit? Even if it is a member of the investigation army outside the tower, who doesn't want to stay in the tower forever? Bai Wu's words sounded like she wanted to create the tower. If you want to come up with the tower, then I will transfer you to the vanguard group of my 13th team. If you don't want to go out of the tower, I will go to the interrogation group and ask you to mention everything. After a conversation with Bai Wu, Lu Mu determined that Bai Wu was a good seed. Bai Wu shook his head, should you still be single? I'm the captain of the 13th squadron, well, I am. Remember, you must choose someone who has an innate affection for you. If you have a crush on someone, you must not play away. You will suffer a loss after you lose. My impression is preconceived, and I have a more favorable impression of the 7th team. The number 13 is unlucky. Gan. Lu Mu left angrily. About 2 minutes after Lu Mu left, Yun Shugzhu resigned, as well as the interrogation group Chongjiang Copper, and the 7th Division Captain of the Investigation Corps, 59, entered the interrogation room. Bai Wu looked at 59. When he was calm, this person looked very lazy, unsmiling, his eyelids drooped slightly, his eyes looked like a sharp blade about to be unsheathed. Bai Wu relies on the experience of the previous life and instinctively feels that most of the characters in this style of painting are super masters. The remarks were quickly explained. You know, like many Japanese-style RPG games, you will often encounter a powerful late-stage NPC in Novice Village. This dwarf is probably positioned like this. However, he hides a secret that is also of interest to the 6th floor. My name is Gu Qingyu. You can call Gu Team. Good 59. Wu Ju glanced at Yun Shu and Xue Xi behind him with a green face. They turned their heads away at this time, pretending to look around at the scenery. Fortunately, the nickname is called too much, and Wu Ju doesn't care much about it. I want to invite you to join the investigation corps. Through fingerprints, you do not have an identity, but this is not surprising. Some people at the bottom are indeed like this. They have no citizen ID and no identity. After joining the investigation corps, I can get it for you. 1. I want to make a request. 5 or 9 nodded. If you don't want to go outside the tower, you can also go to the interrogation team. Recently, a lot of cases have been accumulated. I want to leave the tower tomorrow. Xue Saiyun, Xu Zhongtong, and the 3 of them were taken aback, suspecting that they had heard it wrong. 59 frowned and looked at the white mist. Your companion power, we have tested it, because it is in the blue area, so it has grown to the 1st stage and the 3rd stage in less than 2 hours, but the 1st stage, even in the face of mildly distorted evil. If you want to remind me that it's dangerous outside the tower and I can't get out yet, then Duck doesn't have to. Bai Wu interrupted Wu Ju's warning. Just let me follow the veterans. I won't be holding back. I'm not asking for death. I don't think you really want me to stay in the tower. What a weird person. Finally escaped from the tower outside the tower, so eager to get out? Xue Xi and Yun Shu didn't understand Bai Wu a little. But Wu Ju is not a normal boss, he actually agreed, tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. I will join a group of 4, plus you, to form a 6-person team and go to the white area. The area color division, Bai Wu already knows, he asked weakly, what's up in the blue area? 59 automatically skipped the question of unknown heights, and Bai Wu did not die, it was purely out of curiosity. Now I arrange for someone to take your fingerprints, and I have gone through the formalities to join the investigation corps. You are a low-level citizen from now on. Haven't I always been? Bai Wu doesn't know yet. Although he is also a low-level person, people with and without citizen numbers live 2 lives. 59 work is extremely efficient. It was originally placed in the previous life, and this type of work is not easy to do in a week. But under the urging of May 9th, various procedures were quickly completed. Soon Bai Wu had his own citizen number 5602052778, which was assigned to the bottom layer. There is a distance of 900 meters between the ground floor and the 2nd floor. Every floor is the same. Between levels, there are huge elevators that can accommodate nearly 1,000 people at one time. Looking at the elevator, Bai Wu knew that the tower was very huge. Under the arrangement of May 9th, he had a simple residence on the ground floor, but he had to pay 400 towers a month. From 5 or 9 mouths, Bai Wu quickly learned that a tower is about equal to the purchasing power of 1 yuan in 2020 in his previous life. Is pretty cheap. There is no such thing as a prime location or a first-tier city in the tower. The bottom floor is always crowded. If it is not for the identity of the Investigation Legion, there is really no way to rent a house at this price. Of course, if it is the Imperial Army of Jota Town, it is directly the start of the 2nd-story house. Considering that he didn't even have the most basic survival resources, Bai Wu was very familiar with it, so asked Wu Ju to borrow some money. May 9th borrowed money with a gloomy look. Although he looked fierce, he was very generous to his subordinates. In the next few hours, Bai Wu became familiar with the environment around his home, the southern west corner of the bottom of the tower. From the perspective of the people on the 3rd and 4th floors, the entire bottom layer is filled with desperados. This is the poorest and most depraved place in the world. As long as they can give a reasonable number of towers, these barbarians can do anything. The location where Baiwu is at this moment is called the leakage port. There is no river or sea in the tower, and of course there is no port. This is just a simple place name. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. The word is very simple. The place is full of various goods, and the gimmicks come from outside the tower, that is, the spirit items. The leaking port is very simple, just a main road, about 6 meters wide and narrow. On both sides of the road, there are all kinds of shops with the same stalls. There is no price, and no one robs, because there are very tacit underground rules. Most of the fake goods are sold in the port, and there are real spiritual goods, but very few. Buying genuine goods can basically make a small profit, while buying fake goods can only admit that you are unlucky, which is also an alternative gambling game. How to distinguish between true and false? Eyesight cannot distinguish. Because profiteers have reached a tacit consensus not to disclose the function of the item. They only say that things come from outside the tower. They will make various assumptions about their specific abilities, but they will definitely not say anything. Holding a urinal, boasting that this is the bad marketing of Aladdin's magic lamp, which is often seen here. But the irony is that many people are willing to believe the nonsense of businessmen, even if they are deceived again and again. Because life needs hope. Everyone hopes to be able to buy a treasure to moisturize this boring and cruel life at the bottom. Baiwu walked into the leaking port. He hasn't put on the blue uniform of the investigation corps yet, but the bag of to-see coins given by Wuju is packed into the bag. The bulging purse is like a certain smell from a female, and the merchandisers on both sides of the road are like males in heat, and they start shouting frantically. In the eyes of profiteers, this teenager is definitely a walking cash machine. How much eyesight can a child of 18 or 9 years old have? Of course, they don't know that such a rotten goods market will encounter the Preel's eyes with the leaking fiend. Men buying things are different from women buying things. Women shopping for things and strolling around will be a chronic marathon. When men buy things, they decide what they want to buy a long time ago, and go straight to the subject in one step. When Baiwu entered the leak detection port, he had already decided what to buy. So even though he has the capital to be a leaker, he still gave these vendors a little bit of survival. He watched several vendors one after another, but did not find what he wanted. But when I swept my gaze, I saw some interesting objects. It thought it was a Loki razor, but it was useless. A hair dryer like it, even if it became a razor, was so different. The current spirit level, 4H. Seeing such a familiar introduction, Baiwu did not spend any money. It's not what he wants, it's impossible to let him spend one more. Who would have thought that there would be a strange thing to take the chamber pot out of the tower? Within 10 feet, 100% of the chamber pots are hit. You can buy it and you can urinate against the wind and enter the hole accurately. Mom no longer has to worry about the baby wetting the bed. The current spirit level, 2.2H. Baiwu was unable to write down the reason why the man came out of the tower with a urinal and survived for 2 hours and 12 minutes. Just suddenly thought of the Fuliji in the previous life, what happened in the wild. A mountain knife, a cardigan knife that a man dreams of. As long as it is cut by this knife, it can instantly break the underwear and double the effect on the clothes of the opposite sex. If you buy it, you will be a slashing boy. The current spirit level, 5.7H. More than 5 hours? Could it be that which investigator corps came out of the tower? Then I found that the attribute of the knife was too rogue and was thrown at the bottom. Baiwu looked at these weird objects, and found that the outside of the tower was like a random enchantment device. But so far, he hasn't seen what he wants to buy. And a few items just now were only seen after he walked a full-on herd of the street. The existence rate of genuine goods here is really comparable to buying a lottery ticket. But there are actually a lot of goods that have left the tower. A quarter of the goods have been outside the tower, but there has been no lingering phenomenon. After a short while, the entire port of leaking was half of the tour. In the middle of the entire leak-picking port, the area of the road is expanded, no longer a straight passage, but a huge disc. This is the Wangpu district, and the shops on the side of the disc are the so-called boutique shops. Said it is a boutique, that is, when the fake is bought, the quality is better than the ordinary fake. Bai Wu also discovered that the reason why the streets that should have been crowded before were not so crowded, because the crowds gathered in the middle of the port. People on the third floor and the third floor outside, gathered on the periphery of the huge screen in the center. The content played on the screen is rather interesting. On the screen, the man in the blue combat uniform and mask of the investigative corps said, "Old irons, this shovel in my hand, also called the mine shovel, is 17 hours. I think everyone understands what it means to be outside the tower. This is the item I sent my spirit when I was out of the mission to investigate the Legion. With this shovel, you can be very helpful when mining. Think about it, you only need to dig casually, and you can mine good mines that no one else can dig in a month. If I hadn't joined the investigation corps, I would definitely keep this stuff for myself to make money. Now I can only reluctantly sell it to someone who is destined. I also came from the bottom, I know everyone's life is difficult, so let's only sell it for fate. 998 TAS, you can't buy it and you can't be fooled, it's cheap, right? Old irons, if you place an order now, you will immediately reduce it by 300. The white mist behind did not look at it again. After hearing the familiar TV shopping line, Bai Wu probably knew what was going on. He had to sigh for the wisdom of the working people, and the live broadcast of the tower and the goods came out. Sure enough, watching TV is always the core spiritual sustenance of the working people. The crowd started booing. Everyone wanted such a shovel, especially when the other party was wearing investigative corps clothes, which added a lot of credibility. This is indeed more popular than selling directly at the booth. But Bai Wu knows that the entire live broadcast is a fraud. When focusing on the screen, he saw this note, "I think cost should be worn cool and cool. No matter how bad it is, you must wear black and white silk. There will be a cost investigation team. Besides, this simple setting is too unprofessional, please remove the dog's eyes." According to the remarks, this person is not the person investigating the Legion, and this person is not outside the tower at the moment, he is setting up a scene that looks like outside the tower somewhere in the tower. Yes, it has the essence of the falsification of some live broadcasts in the previous life. It can be seen that people have always had great wisdom in taking shortcuts. The white mist has not been exposed, nor is it capable of exposing it. It is possible to make a screen like this in the central stand to make people watch, and to swindle in the name of the investigative corps. The power behind it may not be small. You can ask about 5 or 9 later. Sells goods outside the tower, there are actually many doorways in it. Compared with the previous antique scams, it is not bad. The underground rules here are also extremely complicated. He just wants to buy the goods he likes. After walking most of the leaking port, Bai Wu came to a shop called Orange Baby Shop and stopped. It's not that this shop has genuine products, but that the things sold in this shop are different from other places. The items in other shops are daily necessities or items needed for mining work. And most of the things on display in the Orange Baby store are related to eating and drinking. The size of the shop is also much higher than the stalls. At least there is a room where items are displayed. Although it is also very crude, in contrast, it is quite high-end. Bai Wu looked at the things in the shop casually. A cup that can boil water in an instant, if you take it outside the tower for a few days, it might evolve into a portable water purifier. The current spirit level, 2.5 H. It's hot for the time being, but in terms of remarks, it may become a portable water purifier after sending the soul. It is not high-tech in the past life, and it is not a treasure now. But for Bai Wu, it's also useful. A rice cooker with the potential to send spirits. If you want to bring it, I suggest that you don't put a seal on it. Evil Fall is not the big devil of Piccolo, and Mo Feng Bo is useless to them. There are no items out of the tower, and the price is 113 towers. This price is based on past lives, and it is definitely a miscellaneous rice cooker. But now that people eat nutritious meals, this kind of thing has become an obsolete item of the times. This price has become a sky-high price. Little handsome guy, what do you want to buy? Now we are active in this store, and we offer a 50% discount on the whole room, but only for you. Wearing black-rimmed glasses, a woman in her early 20s walked out of the counter. She looked at Bai Wu, her tone was not deliberately flattering, but her eyes were imaginative. A sea queen who has been in love 19 times, has hundreds of spare tires in the fish pond, and is dating 6 people at the same time. Recently the taste is small fresh meat. Bai Wu didn't notice at all, the owner of this orange grocery store had experienced a lot of battles. But the appearance and the figure are acceptable. In such a place on the bottom, a person who can have such a shop is naturally not a weak woman. He had no intention of making friends. I want this rice cooker and this cup. Good looking, the cup is indeed a good thing. But this pot is useless, it is a fool to put it here, it is recommended not to buy. You are not a fool, I don't want you to be a fool, he he. By the way, my name is Lu Chenzi. I said, I want it all. Having bought what she wants, Bai Wu doesn't want to stay too long. Are you going out of the tower? Lu Chenzi narrowed his eyes. Ying Ying's waist twisted, she moved closer, and looked at the white mist again. A smart woman. Bai Wu will come out of the tower tomorrow. He hates the taste of nutritious meals, but this world cuisine is obviously a luxury, so he wants to buy a pot that can change the ingredients. Walked for most of the circle, did not find the favorite, simply took a pot out of his own, try his luck, what if it becomes a legendary kitchen utensil? How much is it? Bai Wu ignored Lu Chenzi's question. I had a 50% discount just now, but I changed my mind. This pot is 10,000 TAS, or free, you choose. By the way, the boiler on the whole ground floor is only sold by me. 10,000 towers of white mist can't be taken out. He looked at Lu Chenzi, and after a few seconds of silence, he said, I'm just an ordinary person, or don't discount, you sell me at the original price. Will ordinary people insist on buying this pot after I clearly tell it is a waste product? What age is this? The pot has long been useless, and no one will ever buy it, unless it has a spiritual phenomenon. And inside the tower, this cup is useless, unless you go outside the tower. Bai Wu was a little surprised, the boss's eyes were quite poisonous. Lu Chenzi is very close to Bai Wu, so close that she can breathe on Bai Wu's neck. Normally, in this situation, a young man of Bai Wu's age who is full of energy, even if he intends to restrain himself, will have some reaction. There is no white mist, he calmly stepped back and said, then I choose free delivery. Free things are always the most expensive. Lu Chenzi smiled like a flower and said, happy cooperation, I will wrap it up for you. Bai Wu watched Lu Chenzi take out an old camera, with a little doubt in his eyes. Lu Chenzi explained, don't worry, little handsome guy, you didn't tell me anything, and I don't know anything. I just accidentally dropped this camera in your cargo. In a few days, you will find this camera by chance, so kindly give it back to me. You are really a good person who doesn't pick up money, hee hee. Bai Wu probably understands why Lu Chenzi can be a queen of the sea. I saw that I was going out of the tower as soon as I met him, and immediately proposed a deal. When I left the tower, I helped her bring a camera. At least he has good observation skills and is good at seizing opportunities. What if the camera can't send spirits? Bai Wu did not ask why he brought this camera. But from the remarks, he can guess something. A damaged film machine, there is no film in it. However, it has captured many secrets, comparable to Guangzai's camera, and it is a miracle that it has not been destroyed by anyone. The proprietress probably wants to let someone out of the tower, hoping that the camera will send spirits. Maybe you want to see some pictures that the camera has taken? Follow the fate, anyway, I will give you this pot and cup. Let's do it again. My name is Lu Chenzi. White Fog. So happy cooperation, little brother Bai Wu. I am waiting for your good news. A strange commission happened like this, it was like a Ubisoft game. It seemed to walk around, and I met an NPC with a question mark on his head. But Bai Wu didn't resist, he was a little curious about the contents of the camera. After left the leak detection port, Bai Wu began to return to his residence. A room of 25 square meters with simple decoration. May 9th is very careful in doing things. In addition to arranging a place to live, he also left a lot of supplies for Bai Wu, such as a change of clothes, which are all standard equipment of the investigation corps. In addition, there is a publicity manual for precautions for investigations outside the tower. Bai Wu didn't want to be arrogant. He took the manual seriously and looked at it. Several Bai Wu thoughts were quite reasonable. When newcomers come out of the tower, we will be equipped with an emotion detection watch. When your mood fluctuates too much, the watch will call the police. All members of the investigating team must abide by the rules and activate the teleport roulette as soon as the bracelet calls the police. Among the materials given in May 9th, there is such a watch with the logo of the investigation corps. After the white mist was attached, it was found that the number on the dial of the watch was 0. The danger value is at 75, and at 75, an alarm will be triggered. It is indeed a coping mechanism. After all, people sometimes don't know whether they are in a state of emotional out of control. Having a unified data standard will reduce a lot of trouble. Another thing that makes Bai Wu reasonable is the mood stabilizer. There is also an explanation of this thing in the propaganda manual. It's close enough to you reading www.yuyuganshu.com, and the dial pointer is about to enter the danger zone. You can consider injecting this substance, a non-inhibitory mood tranquilizer, which will not produce muscle relaxation effects, and will temporarily bring people into a calm state. The effect is about 5 minutes, please use this time to escape, remember to escape, don't do stupid things. In order to improve the survival rate outside the tower, the Investigation Legion did make a lot of preparations. Conventional tranquilizers can relax muscles and greatly reduce the speed of people's reactions, so they are not suitable for use outside towers that require a high degree of alertness. However, the tranquilizers used by the investigating corps will not affect the combat capability, but they also have side effects. When the 5-minute inhibitory effect is over, the emotions will enter a state of excitement, and any negative emotions will be amplified. So it is not a last resort, please do not use it as much as possible, and once you use it, please be sure to use it to return to the tower. Bai Wu picked up the kit of injection reagents and looked at it. So it is the principle of the spring of emotions, which will forcefully suppress emotions. After 5 minutes, emotions will rebound. The crying child has milk to drink. Although he hates crying and aggrieved children, Bai Wu does not want to let go of these normal emotions. It has been a long time since he has felt the so-called sadness and anger and fear. He recalled the most uncomfortable experience in his previous life, the expression on his face remained expressionless. There is not the slightest fluctuation in my heart. Then he took out the needle tube, introduced the reagent, and injected it into the right side of his neck. There is no strange sensation, except for a slight numbness when the pinhole penetrates. Bai Wu counted the numbers silently, waiting for the emotional rebound after 5 minutes. 300 seconds passed in a flash. Bai Wu poured himself a glass of water from the cup he bought, and then gave himself another shot. So he waited another 5 minutes. When the time was up, Bai Wu recalled some past experiences. Still has no feelings at all. After confirming that Wu Ju would not make some jokes with himself, Bai Wu gave up after confirming that these injections should have no quality problems. There is no emotional rebound effect, I can't feel the slightest excitement, and even want to sleep a little. Forget it, I shouldn't have expected it. No longer entangled with emotional things, taking advantage of the boring or medicinal strength, Bai Wu fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, he woke up early, and the time for leaving the tower was 10 o'clock as agreed with May 9, but the people investigating the Legion had to go through some formalities to leave the tower. Put on a blue camouflage investigative corps costume and an emotion detection watch, brought a rice cooker, a hot water cup, and Lu Chenzi's camera, Bai Wu went to the meeting place slightly bloated. The 59 group arrived earlier than Bai Wu. Except for 50 and 9, Bai Wu didn't know the other 4 people, but simple observation, reasoning, and remarks made Bai Wu a basic understanding of the team's structure. Introduce, this is the recruit who participated in the survey outside the tower with us today, Bai Wu. Wu Ju's tone was lukewarm. My name is Wang Shi. Brother, what is in your bag for sending spirits? Everyone, including Wang Shi, is taller than 5 or 9. In this group, the king has the highest power. 1.9 meters tall. Bai Wu looked at Wang Shi. A rich kid who was born on the 3rd floor of a tower, thought that men should pursue blood and excitement, so he rejected the imperial army of the tower town and joined the investigation army. Isn't that a hunk? But his hobby is collecting Barbie dolls. Wang Shi does look quite majestic, somewhat similar to Lu Mu. I want to have the same responsibilities in the group. Yes, I plan to try my luck out of the tower. Bai Wu smiled politely. Bringing items out of the tower is quite normal in the eyes of everyone, and no one asks them in detail. Recruits? Hey, if you are recruits, don't hold your back. I hope that next year's day will not be your anniversary. After all, we are not familiar with each other. If you die, I won't worship you either. Contempt and contempt. This is Lin Wura. He speaks like this, and he gets used to it. Wu Ju gave Lin Wura a blank look. A man who looks better than a woman, is a sissy, and speaks with a vicious tongue. This kind of person often has a certain perverted hobby, and he is keen to mutilate and be whipped. From the 2nd floor. Unlike the short and capable hair of the other 3 men, Lin Wura has long flowing hair. Bai Wu noticed one thing. When he went to the tower, he observed a lot of people, and found that the focus of the remarks did not mention the companion power and talent sequence once. It was different outside the tower before. I must have gone outside the tower, and the remarks of these people will be different. I can only hold my thighs, I won't hold back my legs. Besides, my little sister, you look so beautiful. Generally speaking, the more feminine a man, the more disgusting it is to be described as a woman. Lin stomped his feet nonchalantly. Ignoring Lin Wura's hostility, Bai Wu looked at the other person. You, hello, me, my name is Shang Xiaoai. Shang Xiaoai's style of painting is the most normal among this group of people. Meek, timid, with a pleasant smile, like a friendly newcomer who has just entered the workplace and is bullied by a bunch of old oilers. But these are all appearances. Don't be confused by his appearance as a little milk dog. He is the most crazy dog in the fight among these people. He is like a moron who saw a woman after being locked in chastity pants for a month. The captain forcibly pulled back to the tower. From the bottom. Another freak. This style of painting group seems to be the ace group of the ace team. Hello. Bai Wu smiled at Shang Xiaoai, and then looked at the last person. The last player, finally politically correct, is a female. From head to toe, the girl gave Bai Wu the feeling of cold. Yin Chuang. Yin Chuang turned his head. Lin Wura has always had a contemptuous attitude towards most women, because he is a member of an extreme appearance association, and many women are not as beautiful as him. But facing Yin Chuang, he didn't have the slightest temper. Bright eyes, white teeth, ice muscles, and jade bones. There is a saying that whether it is a beauty depends on how it looks during military training. Even the combat uniform of the investigating corps can hardly conceal her grace. In Bai Wu's view, if this woman is placed in her previous life, this face alone can represent the top traffic. An Avenger, like the little dwarf, has hidden secrets in the 6th layer that are also of interest. From the 2nd floor. She is the one who resembles the most normal person among the few people. What is the secret of interest in the 6th floor? Mentioned twice, is it a rare sequence? There is no clue. Bai Wu didn't think much about it, he quickly noticed another thing. There are a total of 16 units in the investigation corps. The 7th team is the strongest. It has 24 teams with 6 people in each team. Among them, the first team, the team leader is the strongest. The painting style of a group of paintings gives Bai Wu the feeling of being a villain. A group of 6 people, how about one person? Bai Wu is now the 6th person on the bench in this group. Wanting to come to the original 6th person, the style of painting is also a weird person. Died. May 9th began to walk towards the entrance of the tower. The expressions of the others remained unchanged, and Lin Wura was still humming a brisk tune. Bai Wu did not ask any more. Investigation outside the tower is equivalent to taking life and exploring. Perhaps the more powerful an investigator is, the better he can adapt to the death of his partner. The exit of the tower is on every level, and the exit on the bottom is in the East Plaza. When came to the square, the first thing that came into view was the huge 6 portals. It looks like a huge 6 square stone stele, looking like a thick wall on 6 sides. But after entering the area number, the moment the hand touches the stone tablet, it will be pulled into some place outside the tower. The colors of the 6 stone steles are different. White, blue, purple, gold, red, black. Corresponding to the world outside the tower with 6 different degrees of distortion. When Bai Wu focused his gaze on the stone tablets of various colors, the remarks he got were the same. It gives these steles the power to open up space, but their purpose is actually to block the guy at the top of the tower. Cannot read it. Who is that? Who is the guy at the top of the tower? The crowd outside the white portal is dense, and a large number of low-level residents line up to make a living outside the tower. At the same time, many people investigating the Legion are maintaining law and order. I remember that the world outside the tower is random, and no one knows where it will be teleported to. In this case, how do these mining and gathering people make sure that the area they go to is safe? This question flashed through Bai Wu's mind, but soon, he looked at the operations of some investigating legionaries and came up with the answer. So it seems that there will be people investigating the Legion, who will be responsible for the area investigation first. Make sure that the area has the energy mines required by the blue line grass and tall towers, as well as fewer evils. Then arrange a large number of people from the bottom to the area responsible for labor and reclamation. The 59 group of people naturally didn't need to line up. No one didn't know this thin man, the iconic Danfan eyes, and the members of the investigation team at the bottom. There are 2 types of tower surveys. One is the material collection survey, which is used to mine and collect the necessary survival materials for the tower. The other is in-depth investigation. The main purpose is to draw a map outside the tower, and to search for historical documents in the past, trying to figure out the reasons for the change in the world outside the tower. But obviously, 700 years have passed, and this task is still in the foreseeable future. Ready to follow? Wu Ju reminded softly. At the moment his hand touched the white stone tablet, on the left side of the stone tablet, immediately above the Jagaga, a string of numbers was generated. The light and shadow lines appearing on the stone tablet at this time made Bai Wu feel a bit of the future world in 700 years. Wu Ju's figure was swallowed by white light. Wang Shi clicked on the Jagaga at the corner of the stele, and then disappeared. Then came Lin Wura and Shang Xiaoai. When it came to Yin Chuang, Yin Chuang stopped and explained some precautions to Bai Wu. Watch and roulette, then confirm. I have confirmed it. This is a portal. After we leave, there will be a number generated. This number is entered in the Jugaga on the side of the portal, and the number increases in rows. Yu.Yukansha.com Ming Ming seems to be the coldest one. Before introducing his name, he didn't want to say one more word. But at this time Yin Chuang was very meticulous. There is nothing wrong with the remarks. This woman is also very cold on the surface, but compared to the previous few people, she is the one closest to a normal person. Thank you. You go in first. Yin Chuang said. It is good. Bai Wu began to enter the number, a string of 7-digit numbers. Does this mean, in the 700 years of the Tower era, people have explored millions of areas? White light swallowed it. There is a brief sense of weightlessness in consciousness, and the surrounding pictures are white, as if shrouded in a thick layer of mist. After a few seconds, the mist began to slowly dissipate. The surrounding scenery gradually revealed. This is the hospital. Bai Wu heard Lin Wura's startled voice. He and a group of members stood outside the fence of a certain hospital. This is a private hospital with a very large area. There are 4 medical buildings alone. And each building is connected by a high-altitude bridge. From the perspective of the height of the lawn and the degree of damage to the buildings, it is far less exaggerated than the urban ruins seen by the white mist in the blue area. This hospital looks just old, but it's not dilapidated. Bai Wu's gaze followed the east of the wall, and quickly found the door to the hospital. 9th Mental Hospital. If you don't enter this hospital, the difficulty of exploration will be as expected, but once you enter, you can't tell. Who knew that mentally ill people have multiple negative emotions? This is a hotbed of evil. Of course I don't want you to go in, but there are hidden puzzles that only you can solve. Good luck. A puzzle that only I can solve? Perhaps it has something to do with the Doomsday Jigsaw pieces. Bai Mist is interested. The reminder I saw before returning to the tower last time was extremely torturous for a person playing games and pursuing a full collection of archives. This time, although he didn't think that 59 could kill all the evils in the area, he could at least find the pieces of the puzzle. It looks like the hospital, the 9th Mental Hospital. What a strange name. Shall we go in and have a look? Wang Shi said. There is a lot of evil in it. I'm a little scared. Shang Xiaoai trembled, with a frightened expression on his face. Bai Wu glanced at Shang Xiaoai, who seemed to be frightened. The fluctuation of his watch was 0. This man was still an actor. 59 and looked around. The temperature is fairly comfortable, about 46 degrees. But the possibility of rapid changes is not ruled out. Well, these freaks have no problem if they call 46 degrees to be comfortable. There is no blue line grass or ore around. It should be an area close to the city. Yin Chuang said. Let's go in and take a look. This kind of scene is usually only found in the blue area. Wang Shi was eager to try. White portal, most of the time it will transport humans to areas rich in ore and blue thread grass. The blue area is very likely to transport people to a street in the city, or a crowded place such as cruise ships, playgrounds, hospitals, and factories. The old iron door was covered with dust. When the king was about to open the door, Bai Wu said softly, "Move lightly." "Hey, you are so courageous, if you are scared, you can go back now, but don't attract the evil and drag us back." Lin Wura said contemptuously. Bai Wu ignored Lin Wura. Based on past experience, he often caused the other person to become too negative in their negative emotions, so he still stopped. Finally, the iron gate was pushed 5 or 9, and the action was gentle. There are 4 medical buildings, each with a height of about 19 floors. This is not a low-standard hospital, but it is strange that this location is a bit remote. I want to come. This hospital was already a bit wrong before the change came. The place. Bai Wu now knows that 700 years ago, people entered the tower because of the world change. But the reason for the change is unknown. 4 buildings, which one should we explore first? Wang Shi asked. The group of people is no more than 10 meters away from the number 1 medical building. Bai Wu glanced across the entrance of this building. The most normal area of the 9th mental hospital, when the leaders check, most people will be in this building. If they want to go to the 2nd building, they have to go to the 19th floor and go through the air corridor, which is naturally very troublesome. But don't think that only the protagonist of a horror movie loves to die. In reality, such people can be seen everywhere. Must go to the sky corridor on the 19th floor to enter the 2nd building? What is this absurd design? Any design that violates common sense must have a reason. Bai Wu probably guessed it. Perhaps the owner of the hospital didn't want anyone to go to the 2nd building. We can only enter from the 1st building. It looks like 4 buildings, but there is actually only one entrance. Bai Wu said. The group of people looked around and found that they were really huge buildings. Only this first one had an entrance on the ground floor. 50 or 9 surprised Bai Wu's observation speed, Lin Wu coldly snorted. Yin Chuang was observing the surroundings, expressionless. Shang Xiaoai's hands trembled slightly, and the corners of his mouth rose unconsciously, and his smile was a little abnormal, but he tried his best to restrain. Team. Captain, there are 17 evil creatures in this building, it's terrible. Bai Wu resisted the desire to complain. Shang Xiaoai clearly tried his best to suppress the excitement. Wang Shi pushed open the glass door of the medical building. The scene in the medical building is not enough to describe the mess. There are scattered medical records all over the floor. The walls of the registration office were stained with blood, and some of them were painted with strange blood-red patterns. What makes Bai Wu curious is that these blood stains and patterns are very new, and he looks at those patterns. What are you looking at? Am I mentally ill? Are you mentally ill? Since you and I are neither, then why do you think I can analyze what this ghost symbol is? But I can tell you that these bloodstains and scattered medical records were obtained 2 days ago. Got it out 2 days ago? Is it to cover up or guide? The current clues do not seem to be enough to infer anything. I have to continue to explore. The structure in the building is not complicated. Looking straight ahead, it is a deep aisle. On both sides of the aisle are various consulting room lounges. The entrance of the stairs is at the end of the aisle, and the elevator entrance is at the beginning of the aisle, which is next to the admission and exit procedures. Adjacent to it, there is a registration desk. In just a few seconds, the white mist roughly deduced the distribution of each layer. There are a lot of rooms in this building. If every room on every floor were to be searched, the workload would be too much for the 6 of us. What kind of hospital will need to build 4 19-story medical buildings in succession? And why don't the other buildings have entrances on the 1st floor? Bai Wu has an inference. This hospital, maybe on the surface is a hospital, but it is actually used to detain certain things. How should we go? Wang Shi asked. Although he is at the forefront, the brain of the whole team is still 59. 59 looks directly at the white mist. What do you mean? There are many rooms in this building. If you search one by one, you may be able to get some information you need. But the deepest secret is in the 4th building. How did you judge it? Wu Ju said. I will only explain it once, please trust me next time. Yin Chuang accidentally discovered that Bai Wu was actually a little overbearing. Wu Ju didn't care. Shang Xiaoai's attention was on the elevator entrance, and he heard a certain sound. Bai Wu looked at the elevator entrance and said, everyone has noticed just now. Of the 4 buildings, the first one has entrances and exits. You can imagine that a normal hospital will inevitably have various emergency channels. How can the transportation be convenient? If the patients in the 4th building need first aid, then he has to go from the bottom to the 19th floor, after passing through the 3rd building, the 2nd building, to the 1st building, and finally from the 19th floor of the first building to a certain level. This must also be when the elevator is free. When the hospital is not busy, if there are a lot of patients, it is necessary to transfer nurses from several other buildings. From the fourth to the first, it will become more inked. At this time, even if it is difficult to choose, you can find a good reincarnation target. Logically speaking, the structure here is very similar to a prison. There is only one way for prisoners to escape, which can be easily controlled. And since it is a prison, then the deepest one must be the fourth building. Bai Wu turned off the subject at this time and asked, I have always been curious about the world outside the tower. If no one lived in the world for 700 years, logically speaking, these ruins and hospitals would have collapsed long ago, but why are some facilities still functioning normally? The fire hydrant encountered before, and at this moment, above the elevator door, a number 17 suddenly lit up. A few seconds later, the number became 16. 15. 14. 13. The elevator stopped on the 11th floor for about 20 seconds, and then continued down. I don't know. We have been to some areas before, such as playgrounds. We will find that the haunted house inside will pop up some props from time to time, and the Ferris wheel will rotate unconsciously. Some of the rules outside the tower are very strange. It's space. Wu Ju explained. Bai Wu nodded, which is a phenomenon that cannot be explained by the current information, and temporarily classifies it as a setting. It seems we don't have to climb the stairs one after another. Bai Wu smiled. There is a fall in the elevator, 6 people have already seen it. Bai Wu's expectation of the evil depravity is academic. He is very curious about the structure of the evil depravity. His main interest is in the sensory organs, digestive system, and nerves. Shang Xiaoai is also looking forward to it, but his expectations are pure violence and catharsis. In contrast, it is like seeing a woman's 2 different reactions. The former is a smart gentleman who wants to understand this woman's preferences as soon as possible to achieve spiritual control. The latter just want to talk about it later. The elevator stopped when the number on the door changed to 1. At the moment when the elevator door opened, Wang Shi experienced Shang Xiaoai, who was holding the corner of his mouth with saliva, his eyes flushed. Whereas Shang Xiaoai at this time still a little shy. However, Shang Xiaoai quickly calmed down again. The white mist only saw a flash of silver light, accompanied by a strong wind whizzing past. Immediately afterwards, there was a stench of black liquid, gushing out of the neck of the evil man who had lost his head. 59 stood at the elevator entrance, slowly retracting the knife. At a certain moment, Bai Wu had an illusion, it seemed that the 5 or 9 books were in that position and had never moved. Bai Wu did not look at the evil depravity that had been separated, his eyes fell on the sword of Wu Ju, the evil must die. It can add a weapon of breaking defense and weakness at the moment of touching the evil. Of course, this effect also beats the children. Facing a severely deformed evil, it depends on the skill of the person who uses the sword. Item Spirit Level, 19D. 19 days of spiritual level? The knife alone is a valuable treasure. Bai Wu remembers that he set a record for survival outside the tower in 5 or 9. In 24 days, this knife should have been sent to the spirit on the 5th day. As previously speculated, outside the tower, I can see information about the combat power of the 59 and others. The associated power of 59 is the 8th stage and 4 stages. Although I don't know the concept, I want to come to the evil depravity of ordinary distortion. For Wu Ju, it is a pill of walking experience. Lin Wura, Wang Shi, and Shang Xiaoai's associated powers are all around the 5th rank, which is quite far from the 5th and 90. The fall of second-order aberration is not to be feared. Let's go to the 19th floor. Wu Ju, Wang Shi and others walked into the elevator. Bai Wu did not rush in, but looked at the evil. He first picked up the head of the evil fall from the ground, and then put it on the neck of the evil fall with a calm expression. Is like trying to do it. This evil depravity, wearing a hospital gown, with an iron chain on his feet, looks like a human being. But the skin became like dried mud, with many traces of dryness and cracking. The biggest change on the face was the mouth, which was like a mouthpart that mutated into a mosquito, with a spiked needle. Although the limbs are still limbs, the hands can no longer be called hands. They should be called claws. It seems that the concept of second-order distortion means that the other party looks a little similar to humans. Bai Wu touched this evil fall again, and found that there was no lower body. The absence of lower body means that neither bulges nor depressions are felt. So this is degenerating things that don't need to exist? A depravity that must die from a depravity is not alone, although before it becomes a depravity, its credibility is very poor. If you want more detailed information, I suggest you touch its pocket. Following the instructions in the remarks, Bai Wu found a page of diary from the torn hospital gown. I am not depressed, I just owe a large sum of money. The man told me that as long as I come here, no one can find me. But he lied to me. I will find a way to get down every day, and there are still people on the 11th floor. That guy, she is so pitiful, will I become like her, will she be transferred to the second building? I just want to leave now, I just want to leave now. 2026.07.05. The diary is only one page. But the content seems to have been written many times. Bai Wu has no doubt that the content of July 4, 2026 is also the above content. This is obsession, but in the end there is only one page left in the entire diary. Through the torn marks and folds in the corners, Bai Wu can profile the situation when the doctor seized the diary, and the patient hurriedly tore off the page and hid it. 2026. How long is it? 704 years from today's Tower era. Is some kind of rule protection? Many objects in this world, including this page of diary, seem to not be destroyed in 700 years. Stunned Green, are you okay? Everyone is waiting for you. Lin Wura urged. Bai Wu nodded. He had already seen the contents of the diary, and he did not take it away, but after folding it, he put it back into the pocket of the gossip. After entering the elevator, he directly pressed 11. Why go to the 11th floor? Wu Ju asked. The danger level of the next few buildings may exceed your estimates. There is a stronger fall on the 11th floor, which may be able to help us get a vaccination. At the same time, find some useful information. Bai Wu said seriously. It's just the white area, no matter how powerful it is, where can it go? Lin Wura routinely raised the bar. If you don't enter this hospital, there is indeed no danger, but I advise Sister Lin to be careful. The 11th floor is coming soon. After the elevator door opened, Wu Ju took out the searchlight and illuminated the dark corridor. As Bai Wu expected, the structure of this floor is basically a room for imprisoning patients. There are 2 doctors' offices in the corner. There is not even a shared bathroom, each room has its own bathroom. The structure of the prison is almost the same as Bai Wu knows. Hee hee. The creepy laughter suddenly sounded. Wu Ju frowned. Wang Shi slowed down, the sound came from the room at the end. Be careful everyone. Wang Shi's caution Lin Wura did not refute. After opening the elevator door, he felt as if he was being watched by predators. Is like a pair of eyes in the dark. You came to play with me. I am here. With longing and bitter resentment, but also like babbling in the ear. Lin Wura, Wang Shi, Shang Xiaoai and the others have experienced hundreds of battles, but the more such a person, the more they understand the evil depravity in this floor. It is not simple. Aren't you coming to me? I've been waiting for you for a long time. At the end of the corridor, a woman's cry was heard. The voice sounded like a little girl, but also like an adult, as if 2 voices of different ages and different emotions were intertwined. Bai Wu kept observing the surroundings, but there was no useful information in the remarks. When I was about to reach the end of the corridor, something happened. A dark and too slender arm suddenly oozes from the ceiling, and it directly grabs Yin Chuang. The silver light flashed again, and the sword was shot very quickly, cutting off the arm in an instant. The moment the blade touched his arm, his expression changed and he whispered, "You guys step back. Keep as calm as possible." Wu Ju calmly judged that this arm suddenly stretched out from the ceiling because of the emotions of someone in his pedestrian. But what surprised him even more is that the level of this evil depravity is not low. At least it's not something that can kill in seconds. Things did not calm down as quickly as expected in May 9, and many black hands continued to stretch out from the ceiling. Attacked Yin Chuang the most, and attacked the least at 59, while Lin Wura, Shang Xiaoai and Wang Shi were about the same. As for the white mist, he seemed to have been ignored by this robin-like depravity. He stood lonely in the middle of the corridor, watching the Wuju and others behead their arms. He already guessed what was going on. When just entered the tower, the sad female voice in the air caused a slight emotional fluctuation in the hearts of several people. This kind of fluctuation is very subtle, and it is impossible to sense it when it is changed to another evil depravity, but the depravity at this level is very special. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. Lin Wura's watch has a value of 11, Wang Shi's watch has a value of 9, Shang Xiaoai's eyes are excited, and his watch has a value of 7. The value of 59 watch is 3. Relatively speaking, Yin Chuang is the most afraid of several people, with a watch value of 21. These are actually values in the normal range, far from the danger line. Is just the evil depravity encountered this time, it seems to be very rare. A slight mood swing can perceive the existence of the prey. Often this evil is also extremely powerful. Fortunately, although the changes are coming quickly, the strength of several people is very strong, and there is no danger, but they are a little hasty to deal with. These hands seem to be unfinished. Lin Wura glanced at Bai Wu in surprise, and said in doubt, "How can you not be attacked?" White Mist raised the watch with a value of 0, expressionless, "I'm even a little sleepy." Lin Wura now knows why the captain will arrange Bai Wu to be the 6th person. This person is bold and outrageous. 59's figure is blurred, and there is his afterimage in the corridor. "Bai Wu, you just stay there and don't move, our side will be ready soon." It's hard to say, before you are completely calm, I am afraid that these hands will continue to stretch out. I will go ahead and take a look, maybe it can solve the source. After you calm down, just follow me. Bai Wu turned around, focusing on the door of the third room at the end. 1119. Do you think there is evil in it? In fact, there is nothing in it. What you deal with, is just some thoughts that it generates. It has been moved to the 4th building. But you can go in and take a look, there are things that are of interest to you and that little dwarf. The resentment of evil. Although he can quickly accept various fantasy settings, Bai Wu still has the feeling of encountering a little devil in the novice village. The main investigators are temporarily trapped just because of the grievances. Will it be too dangerous later? Bai Wu looked back and found that she was worried a little too much. Wu Ju can easily deal with these grievances. His style of painting is different from that of the other people. The other people are locked in 30 frames, and the 59 people are 144 frames. Well, these people can't die, they seem to be enjoying themselves. Bai Wu no longer worried about anything, and directly opened the door of the third room from the bottom. Wang Shi is a typical genre of muscle physics. When the black slender hands are entangled like a snake, his muscles swell up instantly, relying on strange force to directly break these hands. "Captain, where did you find this freak? He is so brave." Bai Wu disregarded the 5 or 9 dissuasion, and went straight into the room that seemed to be very grieving. Wang Shi was extremely impressed by this scene. After all, even if he saw these weird black hands, he still felt that he was still bluffing. But the value of Bai Mist's watch is actually 0, which means that the sudden appearance of these things does not even make his heart fluctuate. If his mood swing value is in the single digits, then maybe he is really courageous. But if it is 0, then either the mood detector has a problem, or he has a problem. The voice of 59 is actually a little vague because of the high-speed movement. After adapting to the evil attack method, everyone gradually calmed down, and the numbers on the watch were gradually decreasing. This is a room much larger than Bai Wu thought, because the two rooms to the right are actually connected. There is a fish tank in the house. But there is no fish in it. There is also a rather exquisite iron cage, with a spray nozzle above the iron cage, aimed at the center of the iron cage. There is a large chain in the cage, which has broken. On the opposite wall of the iron cage, Bai Wu also found a camera. Many discarded needles are scattered on the ground. In the corner of the room, on the diagonal of the cage, there is a table with 3 things on the table. A comb, a file, a key. And these 3 things are surrounded by a black aura visible to the naked eye. Is like reminding explorers that these 3 things are tricky. Bai Wu began to focus on the line of sight one by one. Bai Wu curled his lips, and his mood was very unbeautiful now. Because he didn't feel any emotions, he felt empty. I really miss my past life. In the past life, Bai Mist played the game. As long as he encountered a choice, he would save it so that he could experience each route once. But not this time, unless he can turn back time. So which one should I choose? If you choose the reward for clearance, Bai Wu will choose the sequence. He doesn't care about this powerful and evil friendship. Don't want to be missed by the evil depravity. But the problem is that it is not clear at this time, what will be the consequences of choosing one of them. The file records things that I and Wuju are interested in, and the comb has no hint. This is also worth noting. And the key corresponds to a certain door. Maybe there are important clues behind the door. Boy, are you okay? Are you dead inside? Lin Wura's disgusting voice came. The group of them has completely calmed down, although there are still black arms outstretched, but the number is already very small. Shang Xiaoai was even a little disappointed. This evil depravity has not revealed his body, which makes him feel very boring. Has to make a choice. Many profile pictures flashed in Bai Wu's mind. Not long after, he leaned his hand to the table.